You ever feel like your emotions just have a mind of their own? You know, one minute everything's totally fine, and the next, bam! You're hit with this tidal wave of anger or anxiety that feels like it came out of nowhere. If that sounds even a little familiar, you are definitely not alone.
What's actually happening in those moments is this incredible biological process. So today, we're going to dive into the neuroscience of staying calm and really get to the bottom of that literal tug of war that's happening inside your head. It all kicks off with something called an emotional hijacking. And to really get it, we need to meet the two main players in your brain's daily drama.
Okay, so an emotional hijacking, it's that moment when a teeny tiny trigger causes this huge, over-the-top reaction, right? Someone cuts you off in traffic and suddenly you're seeing red. You get a slightly critical email and a wave of pure panic just washes over you. That is your brain's threat detection system going into complete overdrive.
Think of it like this. Your brain has two competing systems. First, you've got the alarm system. It's deep in your brain's emotional center, the amygdala. It's super fast, totally reactive, and its only job is to scan for danger. Then you have the manager's system, up in the front, the prefrontal cortex. This part is slow, it's logical, it's focused on the big picture. The hijacking happens when that lightning-fast alarm system just completely takes over.
So how in the world do we stop that alarm from just blaring all the time? Well, this is where the manager steps in to calm the storm, and it uses a really powerful tool to do it.
That tool is called cognitive reappraisal. I know, it's a bit of a mouthful, but the idea is actually super simple. It's just the ability to consciously change how you're interpreting a situation, to change how you feel about it. So instead of that automatic thought, that driver is an absolute menace, you consciously think, maybe they're rushing to an emergency. See? The situation is the same, but your story about it completely changes.
And here's what's actually going on in your brain. When you do that, your manager literally sends calming signals down to your alarm. It's like the CEO calling down to the security guard and saying, "Hey, stand down, it's a false alarm." This actively dials down that initial, raw, negative emotional gut punch.
And the cool part is, we can actually see this happening. Brain scans show that when people who are just naturally good at this stuff are shown upsetting images, their manager brain lights up like a Christmas tree. They're flexing that manager muscle. But believe it or not, that's not the whole story. Because, you see, recent research has found a really surprising twist in this story. It turns out it's not just about what your brain does in the heat of the moment. See, the real key to understanding your emotional reactions isn't just about how your brain acts when it's triggered. It's about how your brain is wired when you're just chilling out, doing nothing at all. It's about your brain's default setting. It's basic architecture.
As one of the key studies puts it, our ability to manage our feelings seems to depend on our built-in intrinsic brain wiring. I mean, this is a total game changer because it suggests that each of us has this kind of preset emotional blueprint.
Okay, so here is the wild part, and it is completely counterintuitive. Get this. Researchers found that people who are better at regulating their emotions actually show weaker connections at rest between their alarm and their manager. Not stronger, weaker. And they also have weaker connections between their manager and the parts of the brain that process what they see. So why on earth would weaker be better? Well, the leading theory is that these weaker connections actually create more mental flexibility. It stops the logical manager from being instantly yanked around by every single little alarm bell or every negative thing it happens to see. It gives it some space, some independence to think. So what do we do with this? Let's translate all this brain science into a practical framework that you can use every single day. It's called the window of tolerance. You can think of it as your personal sweet spot for peak performance.
The window of tolerance is basically the optimal zone where you can handle life's ups and downs. When you're inside this window, you feel calm, you're present, you can think clearly. But things like stress and trauma can actually shrink this window, making it way easier to get pushed out.
Now, when stress shoves you above your window, you land in a state of hyper-arousal. This is that classic fight-or-flight feeling. Your nervous system is just flooded. You feel anxious, overwhelmed, totally out of control. That's your alarm system ringing off the hook.
Inside the window, though, that's your sweet spot. That's the optimal zone. Here, your rest and digest system is running the show. You feel grounded, engaged, and you can actually come up with a thoughtful response instead of just reacting. But you can also get pushed below your window. This is called hypo-arousal. It's more of a freeze or collapse response. Instead of feeling way too much, you feel nothing. Numb, empty, disconnected. It's a total system shutdown.
But here is the most important part of this whole thing, the big takeaway. You are not stuck. You can actively, consciously work to rewire your responses and expand your personal window of tolerance.
Remember that emotional blueprint we were talking about? It is not set in stone. Through consistent practice, I'm talking about things like mindfulness, grounding techniques, and the cognitive strategies we just discussed, you can literally restructure these neural networks. This is neuroplasticity in action, and it's so empowering. So here's a simple 3-step process to get you started. First, just start to notice. Identify what pushes you out of your window. Second, create some space. Use that cognitive reappraisal to wedge some time between the trigger and your reaction. And third, bring your body into it. Use simple grounding techniques like deep breathing to calm your nervous system and guide yourself back inside your window. Look, the goal here isn't to become some kind of emotionless robot. Strong emotions are a vital part of being human. The real goal is to widen that window of tolerance, to build the capacity to feel those big emotions without letting them hijack the whole system. So yeah, your brain might come with a kind of emotional blueprint, but the real question is, who gets to hold the pen?